Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. Today I'm out here in the garden. It's March 29th, and I've got to deal with some of these strawberries. They're just going crazy. So let's just take a look and see what's happening. We just have strawberries everywhere. They're going crazy. They're making so many strawberries. I mean, my God, how am I going to eat all of these? But today, that's not what we're concerned with. We're concerned with these little things right here. You see this little thing coming out of here? That's what we're going to deal with. Now, certain strawberries, once they start doing that, they'll stop producing. Now, this particular variety, I don't see any problem with it. In fact, I see when they start putting these out early, they even set strawberries on them. But what I'm going to do is, we're going to pot these up and we're going to make more strawberry plants. And it's a simple process. I'm going to put this in here and I'm going to move this thing where it kind of stay in place. And I'm just going to push this down where it's pushed down tight into the soil. Just like that. And I'm going to continue to do that for each of these. Now, I know people can always use strawberries, so some people would be happy if I did some extra so they could have some. But right now, I've got enough row here for about 40 or 45 more strawberries to complete this patch out. And these are all new strawberry plants, so they'll be producing. Now, strawberry plants in some varieties may be different, but this is Avion. And it's got a characteristic that normally after a couple of years it doesn't produce as well. So it's always good to take and just start some new plants. You can let these root on off into the ground. The only reason I do it this way is it's easier for me to put them in another place and not having to dig them up. Actually, I just take the container and I'll dig a hole and I'll put them somewhere. But what I'm going to continue to do is go through here and I'm going to find a lot of these, and I won't get them all, I'm sure. I've got me 10 pots today. I did a half a dozen yesterday, and spend some time pull these weeds out around there while I'm working in the areas. That way I can get keep that under control. But what I'm going to do is go around and I'm going to look, because what happens is these things will take and come out and they'll actually root in. Now I got some bigger grass up here I need to really get a hold of. But if you catch them before, like this one is just not very far away from rooting into the soil. So, and I'll have to make sure my pot's going to set level. I don't want it to fall over. But I'm going to put this in here. I'll move that to where I want it, and I'm just going to put pressure to hold it down. Now, you don't want to bury that in because it's not going to grow. If it's put underground, you're just wasting your time. But if it's touching the ground, and I always try to put my little staple back on the pot, because sometimes this will still grow a little bit, and then I'll push it down. And it's like I say, there's always, I come down here whenever I was growing these, because I only had a few left. I took and started potting these up. And once I started potting them up, well, once you pot this now, and this one roots in, once it's rooted in, it's actually going to send off another runner from it. Let's see if that'll do right there. And they need to be fairly big. That's a little. That one I just did was just a little small too. We got our little apple tree coming in. That's good. We'll go ahead and, this one here is already, I think, trying to put down a little root. It don't take them long if they have a moist place in the ground to start rooting. It's just it doesn't take very long at all. Now normally what I'll do, and I've just planted this one here, but I can see that it's grown out and it's not touching. So because it's this part here, this leaf that's behind is not gonna put out roots, and they're growing to find them a good spot to put out roots. And that's what we're going to be looking for. You'll see a lot of them coming out, and that's not quite ready. Now, if you're not wanting to grow more plants, we'll see how that does. If you're not wanting to grow more plants, then you'll want to go ahead and cut those shoots off, because if you continue, eventually they're going to start not producing. They'll just continue doing runners. And once I started doing a bunch of runners off and potting them up, I ended up with they stopped making strawberries. Let's see if I can work one-handed here. Kind of want this thing to lay a certain way, so we'll move it over a minute. We're going to put this down. Well, now we're shoving it under the ground. We don't really want it underground. We want it pressured against it good, like that. But I find when I started doing this that it's every couple of days you gotta come out. But it's a real inexpensive way to get you a bunch of plants. You can propagate them from your own, and I do have another video out there, but a lot of people just don't go back and look at old videos. They tend to happen on the new ones. Maybe they think that information's old and not useful anymore. I have no idea. But we'll see what we got going on here. You see, this one here is a little bit overdue. It's almost ready to start dropping roots. I'm surprised it hadn't put roots out in there. This is one of the original plants right here, and it is blooming. These are all originals, but they're still producing good. But somebody says they don't put as big of berries as new plants, and I do notice that some of these over here are really big, and these are smaller berries. I mean, most of them are all a little smaller size than the others. And I think that was one of the things that they did, as far as it wasn't that they just quit producing, but they started producing smaller fruit. So that's something to consider. Eventually these plants do get old, just like everything else, and like I say, you'll have to pull them out, or I like to think that they're useful for reproduction. That's why I put all my old ones down in one spot. As I need to, I can taking pot some up, whether to replace mine or to sell them. But anyway, let's get some water on these things. And when we water these, we just soak them in good. Just make sure you find all of them where you potted them up, and give them a good drink. Now, remember, this soil's got to stay moist, so it may be necessary, depending on the outside temperature, you may want to water these things a couple times a day, you know, like maybe in the morning time, make sure they're watered, and then sometime in the late afternoon, or maybe even the hot afternoon. That way you can be sure that they do have the moisture, so they'll start setting roots. And if you happen to bury one, you know, it gets buried and it doesn't do right, don't worry about it. Just cut it off and move your pot to another place. Seems like I had more pots than that. It just sometimes it's hard to keep up. Now, if you're organic gardening, you can mix some organic fertilizer with your pots beforehand, or even put some on, being that you are watering these. It'll wet it down and bring it out. But remember that they do need some fertilizer. If you use like potting soil or something that has some fertilizer in it, that's fine. If you're not organic gardening, well, I guess you could use like a fish emulsion or something for organic liquid, or you could use, if you're not organic, you could just use like a Miracle Grow or something, mix it up in your water when you water them. But anyway, it's as simple as that. Now I'm ready. I've got 16 pots out here now. A few days, I'm sure I'll have my 40 or 45 that I need, and then I'll just start clipping off the ends, so I'll get maximum production on my fruit. But I hope this is helpful. I hope you get to growing strawberries. It doesn't take but one plant, and you can multiply it out. Like I say, I had 11 left, and I ended up with 160 by the end of the year. So, you know, one plant put out there, you could easily have a dozen or so by the end of the year, and have you a nice little strawberry bed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe, hit the bell button so you'll be notified. Give it a big thumbs up, and of course share this. It helps my channel. Happy gardening.